Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Intelligence Mod Pod. Today we are going to be talking about everything you need to know about the 2024 Handbook's crafting system, with maybe a little bit of touches in the 2014, but realistically they gave us nothing, so probably not. Today I am joined by fellow DM Dane. How do you feel about crafting in your games?
Um, if we do it, it's often poorly executed.
Almost
because
always.
because as you kind of mentioned, 2014 didn't really give us anything, and the 2024 kind of just gave us a real basic skeleton of what
Yeah.
crafting can be? Question mark.
I feel like in a lot of ways, the 2024 crafting feels like what should have been in the 2014. Like, because it feels unfinished a lot of the ways that 14 did, where they kind of polished a lot of the new things for 2024. This feels like it was in 2014. But at least it's something.
Yeah, gives you at least like a starting point.
Yes.
And and I will kind of preface it by saying there are a lot of homebrewed crafting systems out there. So if you want to include some crafting in your world, um, and you want it to be a little bit more detailed, probably better to look into some of the uh, various homebrewed crafting systems that are out there.
Yes. And am I correct in remembering that you are developing a crafting system?
Developing? No. I'm
No.
using one that
Using one. Okay.
use one like a home brewed one. So, a little bit more detailed than this. It includes things like harvesting like parts from
Ooh.
creatures. Drawing out like magical essence in order to make like magic items, or you can just kind of use it for like cooking and stuff like that because one of my players is like a her whole thing is like she's a chef, and that's kind of her big thing. So I found like this resource that can like it lists little parts that are edible of the monsters and stuff like that. And I have one other player that's an artificer, and if you have an artificer in your
Yeah.
campaign, that's all they want to do for the
That's
most
it.
part. So yeah, this system it's pretty cool. Talks about the harvesting aspect. Talks about the crafting and manufacturing and enchanting to make magic weapons. So it's got a little bit of everything in it.
Yeah, so today we're going to tell you what wizards have brought us for crafting, but I have talked to Dane, and I do think at some point we are going to scour the internet, find our absolute favorite crafting rules, compile them together, and bring that to you. I don't really know when that's going to be, because that could take us a little bit to find things that we really, really like, but once we do, we are going to bring that to you, so you might have a little bit easier time getting both yourself or your players into crafting in an efficient way that doesn't just feel bland.
And speaking of bland, let's talk
Speaking of
about these
bland,
rules.
speaking of bland, let's get to the rules. So the first thing we're going to talk about is proficiencies with tools. So we're going to get into all of the tools in just a bit, but the overarching kind of use of these tools is going to be if you are proficient with them or not. And what that's going to do, if you are proficient and you're making a skill check that you can use that specific tool in, you can add your proficiency bonus to it. If you are already proficient in that specific skill, you just gain advantage. I love gaining advantage any way I can. I feel like if you're trying to like smell a drink to see if it's been poisoned, and your DM's making you roll a perception check, I feel like if you are proficient with brewer's tools, you might be able to smell something extra in the alcohol, and that I think is kind of flavorful. That because you work with alcohol, you can now use it to, sniff out things that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and that's a great example too. I feel like in Dungeons and Dragons, like tools are very underutilized because
Criminally.
people just think of them for crafting purposes. Like someone perfect example is what you just said. Heck, I was like I didn't even think of that. Like because I'm proficient with brewer's supplies. I've been brewing. I know when something's doesn't smell quite right or
Mm-hmm.
it looks a little bit off, right? So that's a
Mm-hmm.
perfect example.
See,
So I was just gonna ask, like, so
yeah.
if you are proficient in it, right? So that's when you gain the advantage. Is that
Yeah,
what it's
so
stating?
say with the previous example, I'm trying to smell this wine and I'm proficient with brewer's tools, but I'm also proficient with perception. That way I would have advantage versus just having the proficiency bonus because I already have that.
Okay. All right. Do you add both? Like, do you add your perception, right? Because that's kind of what you're using, and then you add a proficiency bonus, 2 or 3 or 4, whatever your level is, to that check. And if you have both of those, or at least just the proficiency with the brewer's kit, you gain advantage.
Yes, so say we're smelling this wine, yes? And I'm not proficient in perception. All right? With that, all I would get because I'm proficient with the brewers is I would then get my proficiency bonus, where normally I wouldn't because I'm not proficient
Okay.
in perception. If I'm already, though, we are going to get that advantage. You only add the one proficiency because the other proficiency is bumping you into advantage.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah. And I do agree with you that the tools are criminally underused. I am someone who will forego just about anything to get tool proficiencies because I love them because I know how busted they can be sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so people get on those tools. They're really cool. They're really fun. They're very flavorful, and you can do a lot with them. And speaking of doing things with them, one thing that we can do now with the 2024 rules is actually craft things. Now, I'm going to be very upfront with the fact that I'm not a huge fan of some of these crafting rules. I feel like this is a great jumping off point, um, but I feel like a lot of it leaves something to be desired. I think so. The two main principles of it are going to be raw materials and time. Raw materials, I like the ruling. So the rule states that to make an item, you need raw materials worth half its purchase cost rounded down. For example, if you have 750 gold of raw materials to make plate armor, which usually sells for 1500, you can then make that armor, depending on if your DM deems your resources, your raw materials, to be appropriate for that. I think that's good. I like the half price. I think it makes it to where if you really want to be someone that's like crafting and then selling, excellent. I like that.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how in your DMing experience how would you determine, like I have to go out and buy $750 of or 750 gold of metal and leathers and such, just describe
Yeah.
whatever it is I'm out to purchase.
So what I really like to do when it comes to like metal with my players, if I know someone's really wanting to craft, as a DM, after they kill something, they always want to loot, no matter what. Like even if it's like just a lowly goblin who had a janky, sword. I feel like that sword right there, you can just kind of take that and convert it into, 3 gold of raw material. And that way they don't
Okay.
have to keep up with, oh, I have 37 swords, 2 bows, 13 leather armors that are worth, like, it gives them something that they can then take and use somewhere else.
Okay. I like that. That's a good way to make just kind of mundane items, have some value in the
Hmm.
future.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like to do. I'm sure there's other great systems. And when it comes to, like, oh, how much raw material are you giving? I'll be honest, I pull the number out of my ass every single time. And then when I get questioned on it, I'm like, oh, it's rusted, so only a portion is usable. I don't know. They
The
didn't they
pleasures
didn't
of being
equip
a
us for this.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being a dungeon master. You got to think on your feet.
Just make it up as you go. I mean, yeah, DMG literally says the rules are what you make them, so just do what you will with it. Do your best. I rarely find people that argue with me over it, so I think you should be good if you just kind of throw it out there. And I feel like with raw materials, also, you can, if you're doing like potions or poisons or whatnot, you can then link that to either nature or survival. Like at the end of the day, if they're wanting to go scavenge to try to find plants that they can use, you can link that to one of those skills and come up with how much they harvest off of that. Is generally what I like to do for pretty much all
Yeah,
of the raw materials. I think leather's the hardest one, only because then
yeah,
they're having to skin this animal, and that's not just going to be like picking it up.
Yeah, and there's that whole tanning process if we really
Yeah,
want to get into it.
it's a real bitch. If you're trying to be a leather worker, just know your DM is going to be doing some mental gymnastics to make it happen for you.
Yeah, I would put that all on the player. Like, you keep
100%.
track of this. It's like, let
Yeah.
me know how many hours have passed in the tanning process.
Yeah, I will give you an amount, just that a number that I pulled out of my ass. The rest is up to you. Um, and be one of those players that your DM can trust to do that. Don't lie to them. Just you will find that if you are a trustworthy player, your DMs will let you get away with pretty much anything.
Hmm.
Because we like that shit. Um, so again, I like the raw materials rule. I think it's good. But then we get to the time. I like the time until we get to high level play. So the way
Yeah.
it works is that to determine how many days, and by days, anytime they say days in this, they mean working hours of 8 hours, it takes to make an item, divide its purchase cost in gold by 10, round the fraction up. And that's going to be how many days it takes. So, for example, if you're trying to make a heavy crossbow, which sells for 50 gold, divide that by 10 and it gives you 5. So, it's going to cost or take you 5 8 hour work days.
Yeah.
I love that until we start getting into like 400 gold equipment. Because I feel like by
Yeah.
the time you're really doing that, you're a high level. I feel like your smithing should have improved with you a little bit, maybe.
You would hope so. And then, the length of time versus it's just like real life, I'd rather just spend the money up front than, have to like wait or anything like that.
Yeah, because.
So
Go ahead.
so plate armor is our great
That's
example
what I was going to
here.
bring up, yeah.
So
Not only are you getting
1,500 gold.
750 gold, but you're also spending
Yeah.
150 days crafting it.
Half a year in the game,
Ugh.
basically.
Can you imagine the business practices that you would have if you only make one item? I mean, I guess realistically, if you have... So there is another rule that if other characters are there, they can help you and reduce the amount of days it costs. It does say that it's made to only be one other person assisting, but the GM can allow for more assistance. So I guess if you have, like, a crew of blacksmiths, you could really kind of whittle that down quite a bit.
Hmm.
But I still think it's a little bullshit. And I'm not quite into
Yeah.
it.
This is kind of one of those things where they just needed some kind of framework to work
Yep.
with and just shoved it right in there.
Yeah, and
And
as I'm looking at this, I wonder if we could almost maybe attach, like, your proficiency bonus to the time in some way. Like, I feel like I would have to really go through it and look at that, but I wonder if, like, there's a way we could have the time it takes you to craft things associated with, like, when your proficiency bonus goes up. Maybe not with the number itself, but, like, with that same kind of time period.
yeah, because at the end of the day, from reading this,
Mm-hmm.
if even if you aren't proficient, you can just go ahead and make that plate armor.
Oh, no, you have to be proficient to craft.
Okay, just wanted to double check
Yes,
that.
yes, you
Just
have to be
using
proficient.
tools. Using tools is in however way.
Yeah.
Is that proficiency and stuff. But you need to be proficient in whatever you're making,
Mm-hmm.
tool wise. So I guess you could. I don't know. I would say like because proficiency goes up was every like
It goes
four-ish
up
levels something like
yeah,
that.
I wonder if you could like pull it off like when your proficiency goes up, it goes from the cost divided by 10 to like divide it by 15 and just kind of go up by 5 every time your proficiency goes up because I think that would land you about 30% towards the end.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense, right? Because it caps. What's proficiency
6
cap out at?
plus 6.
Yeah. So, and usually ain't nobody getting up that high. So
Yeah. But I feel like it should go down a little bit. The more you get good with something, I feel like the better you should be. I feel like if you've been a blacksmith for, 10 in-game years and it's still taking you the same time to make a short sword,
yeah,
you might be doing something wrong.
right. Like if you're Arcana proficiency goes up just because you level up, right? Like that's an observed, learned kind of skill. History, like I just start learning more.
Yeah.
Like it should apply the same to tool usage in crafting.
So I think that might be what I do in my future games, is have it go up with that. So with those, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like start off with this, and even like I would even start it with like the two, like instead of the 150 days, if you're just proficiency bonus two, cuts it in half to 75 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Because it still is such an obnoxious number that no player is gonna do it unless you have drastic downtime.
I've been running my campaign for almost 2 years now. It is maybe like 30 days have passed. Yeah. And that means they would still have to take basically another 2 years, another like 60 sessions to get their plate armor that they're making.
Yeah, it would be so much easier to just save your money up and buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do want to say, as we talk about crafting, I want it to be known that if you are wanting to play a heavy crafting character, you should really look into playing any of the elven races that give trance, because that's going to automatically give you 4 hours every long rest that you can put towards any of these crafts.
Yeah. Or Warforged if you're playing with those rules.
Well, Warforged, I would say no, because you have to be in a dormant, rested state, so you can't be doing things. It's like you're conscious, but you can't be moving.
Yeah, how long is it, though?
I feel like it's the full
centuries.
8.
Oh, it's at least 6 hours. You need 6
So you get 2.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So you could make it work. You could make it work. I would still recommend Elf, just because, double the time. But, I mean, if you want to be a human doing this, go for it, I guess.
You're going to be working 9 to 5. That's all.
That you are. So with those, we do have each of the tools and crafting equipments here. We're going to go over each of them, kind of what they're associated with. They've added a new thing with each of these, where there's a specific skill that they're associated with. Or ability, I'm sorry. It's an ability. So either strength, dex, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. I don't like it. I think that's stupid.
Yeah, I don't like tying it to a certain thing.
Yeah, I don't like it. So we're going to start with alchemist supplies. So we love a good alchemist supplies. This is how you're making acids, alchemist fires, components, pouches, oils, perfumes. Those are the only things it tells you can craft in the rules. Talk to your DM. There's so many things that you could do with this. It's going to cost you 50 gold to get it. And it's tied to your intelligence skill or ability. Again,
yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why they did that. It's like I could possibly understand with some of them, but I feel like wisdom also,
Yeah, I was going to say, because I guess, in terms of intelligence, it's like you got to know the formula to do this. Yeah. But then they have component pouches, which is, just put sticks in there? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Make a bag that holds sticks.
Yeah, like, because for Killian, I have this, like, alchemist supplies, and then it's, like, intelligence. I'm like, oh, that's my dumb stat.
I can't do that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Morroway as well. I ain't doing nothing with alchemist supplies if that's the case.
It's like, I could use wisdom. Come on.
Here's what gets me. They don't really give us a reason, like, why it's associated with intelligence. Because I feel like there are ways you can use that with skills that aren't associated with intelligence. So it doesn't make sense to just have, like, int as its modifier. I don't even know if it's modifier. They didn't really go into detail as to why this is intelligence and what exactly that means for it. That I can find, at least.
So let's kind of talk about how, I guess in terms of, like, crafting. Let's just go with alchemist fire as an easy example. So how would you run it? Like, what would you explain to your player? Like, you have the alchemist supplies. What am I rolling?
So rules is written, as they are here, we would just take half of the cost of Alchemist Fire and let them go. There's nothing that goes with end, according to the rules.
Right.
Nothing.
So it's just like, how much is Alchemist Fire? Let's just say it's 5 gold.
I don't know.
Whatever. So let's just say it's 5 gold.
Takes you an hour.
Okay. See, that's not bad.
Where did intelligence come in? Why are they throwing all this extra shit at us?
Right. Exactly. But is that not like the usage of the tools in terms of like the advantage and stuff like that, or is that just more kind of like how the other examples are, like you use it to identify a substance, or you use it to start a fire, versus you're using the tools to actually craft something? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I kind of see where maybe it's used.
Yeah.
So with the identify a substance, I guess then you would just use your intelligence stat. I guess
like your flat intelligence plus the proficient, if you're, but like, you know what I mean?
So I guess
like but for the bonus for it, it's the proficiency with the skill.
So what I'm
skill.
imagining here is if you're not proficient in Arcana, because I feel like if you're trying to identify a magical substance, that would be Arcana, but you are proficient with alchemist supplies, that gets you essentially the proficiency for Arcana, because it's the same roll. Maybe that's what they were going for.
Like just kind of the general intelligence based.
Yeah.
Skills,
so instead of using your skill, you just use this because it's going to be the same as if you were using an intelligence skill.
Yeah, but then if you're proficient, then you get
then you get the advantage.
Okay. See that?
I don't know.
Into spell scrolls.
Oh my god, here we go. Yeah, and so the usages you can use for this outside of crafting are going to be to identify a substance, as we said. It gives a DC of 15. I hate when they give you a flat DC for something. DMs, no. Don't do that.
Yeah.
If this is a very commonly known substance, it should be like a 12. If this is something that literally someone has created for the first time in existence, a damn 15 is not identifying what this is.
Yeah, exactly. And they did this a lot throughout the whole player's handbook, you know, with all the checks for persuasion and all that stuff. They just gave it the flat DC. I do think that's just for newer dungeon masters who, you know, just getting their feet in the water. But if you're experienced, yeah, like Bobby was saying, you got to play to the situation.
Yeah, and new DMs, I really want to stress, do not be afraid to just throw numbers out. I know it sounds silly. I know it sounds like, oh, but what if it's wrong? They'll never know. They will never know what the DC should have been. Give them a number that you think is appropriate. It doesn't even have to be like, I feel like most DCs are even numbers. Give them a weird 11 every so often. Just do whatever you want with those DCs, because you know how important that potion is. You know how important the substance is. You know what it should be. But then it also gives us starting fires with a DC of 15. I feel like that should be a 10. Come on.
Half the people, more than likely, you're going to be traveling with someone that can just...
That should be a 10, because to brew anything, you're going to have to light a fire anyway, so it's something you do every time you use them.
Yeah.
That's a weird one to me. I don't like the new alchemist supply stuff. I feel like that's kind of obvious. The next one we have is going to be brewer supplies. This is 20 gold. It's also going to be intelligence-based, and that intelligence check is going to be to determine a poison drink or identify alcohol. I think it gives us another, flat 15 for the drink, 10 for the alcohol. I think that's kind of fair. That one I'm more okay with.
Yeah, I think so. I would say so. And then...
Unless, of course...
that they put...
Oh, go ahead.
I will say it's interesting that they put antitoxin in this one versus like herbalism kit or alchemist supply.
It's also in herbalism, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure.
Yeah, it is. I just looked. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess they're thinking like if you're a drunk, you know how to get undrunk. I don't know. Yeah, in the crafting we have antitoxin. I put booze with a question mark. Why can't we craft that?
I would imagine that's all you would do with that.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I don't get it. Why is that not part of it? That's all any of my characters have ever used their brewer's supplies for.
Yeah, really, that's kind of a weird thing that I didn't put that in there, but...
Yeah, that was a choice. However, you are going to get those bonuses to alcohol-related situations, so I still think it's worth taking if your character is an alcoholic. Or maybe they are a tavern keeper who makes alcohol. They don't have to be drunks to know what alcohol is and how it works.
Would in any way let's just say, drinking contest. If someone is proficient in brewers, they get advantage on the con save or something like that.
I will immediately tell you yes. I have had characters do that, and I 100%. If you are proficient in brewers and it's you drink a lot, yeah, you're gonna have advantage. Or at the very least, we're gonna add your proficiency bonus to it because you're proficient in drinking alcohol. #Bula.
There you go.
I feel like
she have brewers.
I don't think she does, but she's definitely proficient in drinking, for sure.
I mean, I don't know if we want to give her brewers supplies, because then that's all she's going to be doing.
Can you imagine if we somehow came across... What is that magic item? The alchemist jar that can just create infinite wine?
Oh, God.
I feel like Seraphina and Eidos would be dangerous with that. Next thing we have is going to be cartographer's supplies. 10 gold to get these. This is going to be dex based, and to do or what you're using your dexterity for is to write in a text with flourishes that guards against forgery.
I think you mean calligrapher. You said cartographer.
Oh shit, I did. My screen is a little bit lower, and I was reading. Yeah, that's calligrapher. I am so sorry. Calligrapher. We're writing fancy.
Unless your maps have a flourish to
I mean, if you're proficient with both of them, they probably could. I literally, on my notes under write text with a flourish to guard against forgery, I put, is that dumb?
Kind of.
In what situation are players trying to write something and keep it from being forged?
I mean, usually you would use this for forgery, or...
Well, no, there's actually forgers kits.
Exactly. That's why it's weird to have this, so I can send a fancy letter to someone that they can't read. It's like a doctor's note, basically, that just squiggles.
So I think I have it. Okay, this is useful if you are in a political intrigue campaign. If the entirety of your campaign is political intrigues and you're playing as nobles who are trying to navigate a social situation, this could be useful, because I could see other politicians or noble families trying to forge your letters. But that's going to be purely if your DM is ready to take on that level of roleplay and espionage.
Yeah. And let's just kind of put this out there. This is probably one of the ones that not a lot of people are going to take.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why in a moment, but go ahead.
Oh. Like I said, I just don't know too many, aside from what you just said, applicable situations for utilizing this. Because, like I said, the forgery kit and this one seem like they would accomplish similar things, I suppose, in how you phrase them or how you say it. But you have other opinions.
So let me change your mind very, very quickly. Get ready. With the calligrapher's supplies, you can create ink and spell scrolls. So if you want to be creating spell scrolls, this is the one you're going to need.
True. All right. Well, there you go. Is it just is it calligrapher's tools, and you need Arcana. I know that.
I don't know if you do anymore. Oh yeah, you do. You need proficiency in Arcana skill or with calligrapher's supply. So no, you don't.
Oh, okay.
So you don't even. Okay. So actually, you don't even require calligrapher's supplies if, proficiency at least, if you are proficient in Arcana. You're just going to need the paper and the ink.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I figured,
which calligrapher's supplies gives you. Now, crafting spell scrolls. I kind of like the new way that they're doing this. I'm kind of a fan. So for cantrips, so everything is based on cost. So I'm just going to run through them really quick. It gets fucking ridiculous. Okay,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just gonna like let you know up front. Cantrips, it's only gonna take you a day to make one, so 8 hours of writing, and it's gonna cost you 15 gold. Right? That's not that bad. I don't think that's rough. A first level spell also is a day, but it's gonna cost you 25 gold. We're still pretty good here. Second level, we're at 3 days with 100 gold, so we really get a harsh jump at third level. However, I don't think it's that punishing. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But then we get to third level spells. It takes you 5 days to make it at 150 gold. That's crazy to me. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's as crazy as now we get into the huge jumps, with fourth taking 10 days and 1,000 gold.
I wouldn't even bother at
I
that
would
point.
not be
Like
making
the,
spell scrolls.
yeah, like first level is probably good. Like
Yeah.
first level, because with your spell scrolls, how you use them based on the action time of the spell, right?
Correct.
So like stuff like shield that you can just
Absolutely.
use as a reaction. Now, in my games, I don't know about you, Bobby. Like the whole rule is like you can't use a spell scroll unless like you're able, like it's on your list, like your spell list or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Or like I just kind of say like in my world, it's like people are using these spell scrolls. Like why? It's like you give it out to the people. It's like let the people use these kind of spell
Mm-hmm.
scrolls. So if I have a fighter that whips out like a shield spell scroll, then yeah, go ahead, do
Yeah.
that. You purchased it. That makes sense.
100%. So there are a couple rules associated with the spell scrolls right now. We didn't go over this in equipment, but we can talk about it now, which is that if it is on your spell sheet and you are of level to cast it, you can do it without anything. Like, it's not an issue. If it's on your spell list but a higher level than you can normally cast, you must make an ability check to use your spell casting ability to determine whether you can cast the spell. The DC is 10 plus the spell's level. On a fail check, the spell disappears from the scroll with no effect. I like that. I would say my only tweak would be if they don't have it on their spell sheet and they can't cast it, just let them do the DC with like, if it's like a fighter who's never done magic, give them disadvantage at absolute most.
Yeah.
Maybe add a couple numbers to the spell. There's no need to
Yeah.
punish past that, in my opinion.
Exactly. Magic is the great divider amongst
Yeah.
these classes. So and usually it's for the magic caster's gain more
Yes.
than anything.
So
Let those marshals use magic sometimes.
So our next big jump is at 6th level spell scrolls, 40 days with 10,000 gold. But I'm not going to go through the rest of them except for 9th, which takes 120 days to make, and 50,000 gold.
Well, if you're making a wish spell,
I'm not
It's like, I
concerned
wish
about the
for
wish spell because the
everything
DC
back.
is going to be so high, and there's already a
that's true.
DC in the wish spell that can negatively affect you.
Oh, okay.
So even wish spell, let those fighters do it with disadvantage. It's going to be a super high Arcana spell save or spell check, and
Yeah.
if they fail it, punish them for it. I see no issue with punishing people for dabbling in magic that is beyond them. That's literally what the whole warlock class is about.
Give him the old monkey's paw effect.
Yeah.
You get the wish, but not exactly what you wish for.
Absolutely. So that's the only thing that I really think would be the issue there, and like that's why I think calligrapher's supplies will be one of the more heavily taken one these days, because people are going to want to make spell scrolls.
Yeah.
Um,
But if you have Arcana, you
don't need it. Next up is Carpenter's Tools. This is a strength-based tool. It's going to take 8 gold to get it. Crafting with this, you can make clubs, great clubs, quarterstaffs, barrels, chests, ladders, poles, portable rams, and torches. I like that crafting list, honestly. I think it's kind of cute.
Yeah, but once again, one of those things that for the time, and once again, if you're playing this character that's like, I make all my own stuff,
Yeah.
like I'm against, capitalism. I make everything myself. Like, because a club and a great club are, you pick up a stick, a big enough stick that's going to
Well,
be a club.
yeah, I want to point out that a quarterstaff is 2 silver, which means you would make this in all of 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a long stick that you buff out, basically.
Yeah, so again, I like it. I think it's cute. Also, you can use that strength stat to seal or pry open a door or a container with a DC of 20. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's like putting like a patch of a 2x4 on like a door to keep it shut.
But like prying open a door, I feel like, thieves' tools, you just pop a crowbar in there and you're good to go.
Or you just get your barbarian to Kool-Aid man their way through a door.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this one, except for I like the crafting list. I don't like the skill associated with the ability.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
I
that DC's high.
I think you could use it for a lot of like fixing wagons and boats and all that kind of stuff, right? So I think there's a lot more use for it.
Mm-hmm.
They just gave you this example, and once again, why is it a 20? I don't know. But...
I feel like the pry open a door and the seal a door should have been 2 very different skill like DCs, because I feel like to seal a door I could see it being a bit higher, but to pry open a door or a container, like I feel like previous editions that's been like a solid DC 15. I feel like a 15 is fine to open up a door unless it's like super sealed.
Yeah.
And like when it comes to
that put in a DC 20 ceiling on it.
Yeah, I see, and I feel like if you're sealing a door and someone's trying to get through it, whatever, I feel like honestly, if you get above a 10, it should seal the door, and whatever you get should be the DC to break that door open. Is probably what I would do. Like if you're sealing a door, you get a 16, it's sealed, and now anyone trying to pry it open needs to get a 16.
It's like a contested roll.
Yeah. But a flat 20, Jesus Christ. They're very proud of that roll. It is what it is. Next up is the cartographer's tools, which I tried to talk about earlier but didn't. These are going to be 15 gold. It's a wisdom. And using that wisdom, we can draft a map of a small area for a DC 15. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't know when this is really going to be useful, though.
The only thing I could see, like, I tried to make use of cartographer's tools one time as a player, and it just kind of ended up being like, in a way, almost like at the end of the day, like a log of where they traveled along the path.
Just became a hobby.
You could also, yeah, it turns into a hobby basically. But I could see it used in like, let's say, you got a familiar, right?
Ooh.
Put the familiar like through the jail or something like that, through the treasure house, and then you could like map out the area and like very easily draw it for someone else going in, right? Like little maps of like interior, like getting the blueprints almost.
Okay.
Like
I
could
like
see it used
that
way.
So I also just, as you were explaining that, thought of another great use, like money-wise. Now, this isn't going to be as big of, like, a turnaround as your blacksmiths are, but if you're, like, as you're adventuring and you're going through, like, maybe a winding area and you're kind of sketching that map down, make copies of it, because it's going to cost you 50 silver to make a map, and you can sell it for gold. If you're just sitting there making copies of this bitch, you're good to go. Because you can make, since it's a gold, that means it's only going to take you 10 minutes to make it.
Yeah, so you're just like whipping them out.
Gold, 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 gold.
Get someone else to help you? It's 5 minutes now. Go, go, go.
Like, come on, people. We are trying to teach you how to run a capitalistic society in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. This is how, I feel like, I don't remember if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, we taught people how to be like the U.S. healthcare system. So now we're going to teach you how to be a crafting Fortune 500 business. Get a bunch of companions to follow you, a bunch of NPCs, and teach them how to use these, so you can just have like a workshop factory, have a sweatshop in your cart.
This is like if you utilize like the Bastion rules or whatever, those new ones that are out, yeah. But you just get like your workers to make copies of stuff.
Yeah, I think the Bastion rules were a thing. We'll get to those eventually. That I'm probably gonna do classes before I even do Bastions because I don't think they're super great, but it is what it is. Next up we have Cobbler's tools. I want to say I fucking love the Cobbler's tools. This might be a slight spoiler, but for my next campaign character, I feel like I've talked about I want to be a crafter of some kind. This is like going to be one of my number one things. Because you can modify footwear to give advantage on the wearer's next dexterity acrobatics check with a DC of 10. Oh my god. Can you imagine? Okay, cool. Picture it. Sicily, right? You're an elf, so you have 4 hours where you're not doing anything, and you're just going around like cleaning and buffing everyone's shoes so that they're good for their dex checks the next day. Fucking excellent.
You're the shoe elf, basically.
Yeah. I adore this. I'm not gonna lie. It's so simple and it's kind of stupid, but I love it.
Yeah. Now, what's like another use for this?
Fucking nothing.
Like everyone's just shoes. And that's it.
I mean, that's what a cobbler is. It's someone who repairs shoes. So
It's just funny that it's such a niche tool. Like,
I love it though. I want to say this is in my top like 3 or 4 favorite crafting things, even though it is so niche.
Yeah,
I can't wait to just make a little crafting character and just bust all these little shoes out every night. Like, imagine these big heroes and they wake up and their shoes are like super fucking comfortable the next day. Yes, that's what every adventurer wants.
It's like they always got just perfect treads on the bottom of it.
And like, I would imagine for me as a DM, if I was playing with a group and they were like, if they wanted to like craft shoes, I would probably allow that as well. Because I also think about like, if someone's playing maybe like, we'll get also into this idea like with Weaver's tools, but say they're like playing a character whose entire career is like making outfits for nobility. Right, like that's how they started. Cobbler's tools, yes, you're making their shoes too. Even though it's not in the rules, I think, that's what a cobbler does, is they make shoes and repair shoes.
Yeah. That's like actually what my artificer in my campaign is like all about. Like he's in a prestigious like guild that is, making all the high fashion for the nobility and stuff like that. So I've been trying to find ways to, like I said, spice up crafting for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once again, artificer, depending on the type of artificer, they can be proficient in any tool, like after, a long rest or something like that. Like, so they can throw anything at you.
Yeah.
So at least having something, useful, to build off of is exactly what you need.
Yeah, with this you can also craft climber's kit. I don't really know what that has to do with. I wonder if like the mentality here is like, like the snow boots with like the spikes in them. I think that's what they're going
exactly
for.
What I thought. Yeah. So like use those with like those pythons or whatever you call them. Pittons, I don't know. Everyone calls them something else.
Are the pythons or pittons? Put in the comments what that they are actually pronounced at. But I feel like that's like the advanced version of prestidigitation. It's like at first you stumble with prestidigitation, and then you get to the higher levels where you're using shit like pythons, and it's like, how the fuck do I say this? I don't know.
Pitons. The pitons.
I feel like I've actually looked it up and had like the robot voice tell me how to pronounce it, and I still don't remember.
It's never gonna stick. You'll say it a different way every time.
Every single time. The next crafting equipment is my all-time favorite. I take this with almost every character I think I've ever played, and I will continue to do so. And that's the cook's utensils. They only cost a gold, and with them you can craft rations, but also with a wisdom check you can improve food's flavor with a DC of 10, or detect spoiled or poisoned food with a DC 15. Huge fan.
Pretty solid. I like it.
I need to look, because I know in, if you want, because I know, like, Tasha's and all that is supposed to be compatible with all of this. In Tasha's, they actually, introduced the idea that if people are short resting and you cook food with your cook's utensils, they gain an extra 1 HP per hit die that they use. I've always used that rule. I think it's great. I think it's flavorful, literally. You know, because you're like really kind of rejuvenating them. It's not game breaking amount of health, but I feel like it really makes your cook feel like they're doing something good for the party.
Well, and then usually if your player is wanting to utilize cooking and stuff like that, they're probably gonna take the chef's feat, which has its own bonuses and stuff like that outside of just that extra 1 hit point.
I want to tell you, I actually don't like the chef feat.
No?
I don't feel like it's strong. I feel like it's strong for like if chef was an origin feat, I think yes. If it's a level 1 feat, absolutely. But I feel like anything after that, it just falls behind almost every other one.
Yeah, it doesn't really scale to
because the temporary HP is like equal to your proficiency, so it's like, oh, I got 4 temp HP at level 8. That's nothing.
like if you compared to another thing that gives you temporary hit points, like Inspiring Leader, like you get so much more with Inspiring Leader.
Yes,
because it scales to your level and your charisma modifier. So, you know, it goes up every level. Like, it gets stronger every level.
Yeah. So, personally, I don't like the chef feat. We're going to talk about feet also at some point. Not like a foot fetish kind of thing, but like features kind of feats. But yeah, I love Cook's Utensils. It's a 10 out of 10 for me every time. The next one we have is Glassblower's Tools. It's 30 gold to get this. This, I think this is the most niche of all of the crafting ones. With this, you can discern what glass object held in the past 24 hours. I think that's actually kind of cool. I'm into that.
Okay, yeah, I can see that, but also like alchemist kit. Couldn't that be that herbalism kit?
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
brewer's kit, like. I feel like this does like what a lot of other crafting things does, but only specifically if it was in a glass bottle.
Yeah.
If it wasn't in glass, if it was in like a metal goblet, who fucking knows?
All right, and I would love to get a timeline estimate on how long it would take one player to make a spyglass. Because I had, in one of my campaigns, I had the realization that a spyglass costs 1,000 gold pieces, and it's just like, it doubles the distance that you can see. Like, this is the biggest waste of money.
So that's
ever.
Rules is written. That's 100 days
to make a.
That's
and
awful.
it does not do that much. It does not do that much. Objects viewed through a spyglass are magnified to twice their size. Yay!
I don't like that. That's stupid. DMs, do not make them take 100 days to do so. That's stupid. Yeah. Because, I mean, what are they doing with seeing double distance? Oh, no, it's not like it makes their spells double distance.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, it's just dumb.
With that, though, you can make glass bottles, magnifying glasses. You can spend 100 days making a spyglass or make a vial. I like these craftings. I don't think they're very useful, but I think if you have a glass blower who's working with either an alchemist, a herbalist, or, you know, any of the ones making potions or poisons, I think they're going to get along really well. I do want to say, though, I don't know how I would do crafting with it, because unless they're, like, carrying around a giant furnace and a bunch of sand and what, like...
Yeah, it doesn't work on a campfire.
It really doesn't.
You need a kiln and stuff, and like, one vial is like 1 gold piece. You know, as you are adventuring, you will have many dollars to burn. So,
yeah,
you know.
I mean, at the same time, 1 gold. If you can set something up to craft, if we're, you know, suspending reality for a moment, that's 5 minutes. You're good to go.
Yeah, gotta buy 5 silver worth of sand. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do with this one. This is a really weird IntModPod for me because I don't know. I don't know this shit. They don't tell us, and it's really just up to the DM. Again, DM, you have to do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up is the jeweler's tools. 25 gold. I like these a lot. So with this, you can use your intelligence to discern a gem's value with a DC check of 15. On the stream, I use this all the time. I like it. I think it's great. You can craft an arcane focus or a holy symbol with it. So crafting wise, you're not really going to get a whole lot of like use out of it.
Yeah.
But I will say, if your DM is nice, they will probably also let you take those gems that you get and maybe wrap them in metal. You know, like actually form them onto jewelry and up the value of them.
Yeah, I would do that. I would use it that way.
Don't be afraid to ask your DM literally anything.
Yeah. Good way to like use it as a way to make sure someone's not, you know, pulling the wool over your eyes if you're trying to sell something, right? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that.
Yeah. After that, we have leather workers tools. 5 gold to get this. It's going to be dexterity, and you can add a design to a leather item for 10 DC. I don't understand where they were going with this. What does that do?
Draw on it. Makes it look cool, obviously.
This is how you edgelord your armor. However, the crafting is nice. We get to do slings, whips, hide armor, studded leather armor, backpacks, crossbow cases, map or scroll case, parchment, okay, pouches, quivers, and water skins. Crafting wise, this is a great one. You're gonna get both armor, utility, weapons. Your person who's making spell scrolls is gonna love you bringing them just shit tons of parchment and a really nice scroll case.
Yeah, that's a good item list for sure. Mm-hmm. Terrible usage of the items, but good, once again, good crafting list.
Absolutely. So the way I like to use this to make its use a little bit better is, as we talked about earlier, how I talked about like raw materials might be like, oh, you pick up the leather armor off of them and it's not very good, so it's just raw leather. Add a DC to that for them to repair it.
Yeah.
Repairing armor is great. If you can destroy players' armors so that they can fix it, that's going to build world building, because you're going to have one person who's kind of taking care of the rest of the group, and the rest of the group is slowly going to start relying on them. And that's a great feeling for the players.
Yeah. And durability, the items and stuff.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to be harsh about it, but if someone gets, like, crit hit, damage their shit a little bit. Like, even if it's only, like, aesthetic.
Yeah.
Next is masonry tools. That's going to be 10 gold. You can chisel a symbol or a hole in stone for a DC of 10. Yeah. Okay. Okay, it is what it is.
I could see it in once again, very niche ways. But, like, you're doing a heist. I don't know. It's all.
I knew you were going to say this, and I'm ready to respond to it.
Just like carve a hole in there, put some explosive in it, and there you go. I don't know.
Just kidding. That's not where I thought you were going to go. Okay, so here's what I'm imagining, and here's what I'm ready for my players to do. Right? We've got a wall, and we need to see what's on the other side. So they're just sitting here, clink, 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 right into this stone, and as they peek through it, it's like all the guards that were on the other side, because a chisel would make a fuck ton of noise. So I'm like, even there, it's not going to be super great. But yeah, if you needed to get like dynamite into a hole, that would be good.
Yeah.
Also with, so Tasha's added a lot of cool things for these crafting things. So if you're newer to D&D, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything was an extra bit of like rule sets that they released in 2016, maybe? And the crafting tools is something that they kind of added to. So mason tools, something that they added to it that I would strongly recommend adding anytime you're using them, is that they could do a DC check to kind of tell how old a stone structure was, or even like what kind of culture created the stone structure. Things like that is when you might use this with your history or a wisdom check of some kind.
I also had to look up what a block and tackle is.
So, yeah, they're super cool. Tell us what it is.
It's essentially like a pulley system that you can use. Like, imagine like the rope pulleys, like a a stone wheel with rope around it, and like you're pulling up stuff, and you're able to lift 4 times. Was it 4 times the amount that you could normally lift as your player character
with their strength? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also useful. I think that's good. I don't think that's, again, going to be a niche thing, but I mean, if you just slayed like a really big beast, you know what I mean? And you're like bringing it to like the king as proof that you killed it, this could be great to help your group like carry this big beast.
You kill the beast and it falls in the river, damming it up. And you gotta get it out of there.
Yeah. I totally lied about what was glassblowers being the most niche, because we're coming out to painter supplies, and I'm starting to think this might actually be the more niche one, because at least with the glass one you can make useful items. This one you can paint a recognizable image of something you've seen for a DC of 10.
Once again, if you have any player, any magic caster that can just minor illusion anything, there you go. Done.
Listen, being able to paint a picture of the person who killed the king is not going to convince people that it still wasn't you.
Give me a minute.
Let me show you real quick. It's not going to do anything. And then it gives, our crafting is a druidic focus or a holy symbol. I have no idea what either of those two things have to do with painting.
Like you draw an emblem on something? Like that's about it.
I feel like they were just like, I don't know what the fuck to do with it. Just throw something in there.
And it's like those kinds of things, the druidic focus, arcane focus, whatever, like those are things you typically start with, like in your starting equipment anyways, if you are that class. Yeah. So it's kind of weird.
It was a choice. I mean, painter supplies, I think, is going to get my vote for the worst.
I want to see if there's big money in holy symbols. Now I'm just thinking, they didn't even have a cost associated with it.
I mean, listen, the thing about painting, though, is you could get to making a lot of money, because the value of a painting is subjective. So, I mean, if you're a high persuasion kind of character, you could probably convince people that your paintings are worth something. And at a DC 10, it's not like it would have to be very hard to do it.
It's all about the creativity, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, and how you go about it, but... Once again, I'm a traveling adventurer / painter.
Choices. If you take this, you've made choices, and I'm not 100% sure if they're the correct one. There's no wrong way to play D&D. But
listen, if Volo could make a guide to monsters by traveling the world and selling it off, then Volo's you could do the same.
Volo's not a normal human, though.
Neither's your character.
Volo's like an aspect of Mistra.
I know, I'm just saying.
He's like... No, because even... I feel like if you're going around making those kind of things, I feel like calligrapher's supplies is what you would have to write books.
You get paint so you can draw in little images of the creature you just fought.
I'm not into it.
Very niche.
The most niche. After that, we have Potter's Tools. These are going to run you 10 gold, and it'll take an intelligence check to discern what a ceramic object held in the past 24 hours. So, if you have Glass Blower's Kit and Potter's Tools, you can tell what was in anything.
Very useful.
Anything.
If you're an evil DM, you're like, sorry, it's 25 hours have passed. You can't tell.
25 hours. That's what it would be.
You just missed it.
That's what that would be.
You just missed the cutoff.
Sorry about it. It was 24 hours and 2 minutes. Unfortunate. But you can craft a jug or a lamp. I mean...
Yeah.
Excellent.
Perfect.
I mean, it's more useful than the painter's supply, but significantly less useful than the glassblower's tools.
Yeah. I just want to kind of like think of different ways you can use these kinds of things. I don't even know how. I don't even know how you could do that. Like maybe in conjunction with the brewer's kit, because then you can make your jugs that you put stuff in.
But the jugs cost 2 copper. 2 copper. What are you like
So
running
like...
around with like clay in your backpack? Like clay is fucking heavy.
It's just Play-Doh everywhere. Just mass produce just jugs because it'll take you 0 seconds to do it because it costs 2 copper.
Literal 0 sec. It'll take you quite literally 2 seconds to do it. Just again, this is why the time thing I don't like because it's a choice.
You just got one of those spinning tables with you at all times. Boom.
After that, though, we do get to, in my opinion, one of the top tier crafting that I will never probably take, but I respect others who do because it's super great, which is the smithing's tools. Or smith's tools, I said smithing. Same thing. 20 gold to get these. It's going to be a strength check to pry open a door or container, so much like the carpentry tool, with a staggering DC 20 check. But you can also craft any melee weapons except for the ones listed in leatherworking and the carpenter. So that's going to be the clubs, the staffs, and the whips. You can also make any medium armor except for hide. Also on this list, we have the illustrious ball bearings, which if you've heard my podcast, you know we adore the ball bearings. Buckets, cull traps, chains, crowbars, firearm bullets, grapple hooks, iron pots, iron spikes, and sling bullets. This is a very versatile toolkit. This is excellent.
Yep. And kind of, you said it before, if you're the DM that implements like durability, damage, like this can apply to, repairing weapons, repairing this, or even just for the players to, like what is that one, like the whetstone?
Yeah.
Or something like that you can use to like, you get advantage on your next attack or something like that. Yeah. Just like reward the flavor a little bit, or however it's used.
Yeah, maybe it's like a +1 to damage on the next hit that they do. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Get creative with it. This is a versatile idea for a crafting thing, and I like it a lot. I think, again, the prying open a door with a DC 20 is stupid, but the rest of it is so good. I feel like this one, though, also with Tasha's, I've seen where a lot of people will use it to identify, like, maybe with a high check, who made a certain weapon. If you're familiar with other crafters in the area, like if you find a sword, who made it? Where did it come from? What kind of techniques were they using? And that can help you in a lot of, like, investigation stories. After that, we have Tinkerer's Tools. These are 50 gold. Jesus. For a crafting... Yeah. Ooh, this is Dex, and with Dex you can assemble a tiny item composed of scraps which falls apart in 1 minute with a DC of 20.
Let's make a little, like, monkey...
I don't know.
Animatronic that just falls apart.
1 minute? At least give us an hour.
For a little distraction, just chuck it in there,
Jesus.
And then it just collapses.
But with Tinkers, we are here for the crafting list, not its ability, because with that, if guns are in your game, we're going to have muskets, pistols, bell, bullseye lanterns, flasks, hooded lanterns, hunter's traps, locks, manacles, mirrors, shovels, signet whistles, and tinder boxes. Again, an excellent, excellent crafting list. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got weapons, it's got utility, it's got it all. I like it.
Now, let me ask you, Bobby, in your mind, when you think of Tinkerer's Tools, what are you holding in your hands?
That's a great question. So, as the gay that sits here in front of you that doesn't know how to build anything, I'm imagining, like, a wrench and, like...
Screwdrivers?
Yeah, like screwdrivers. I don't know. Things you tinker with.
Exactly. A little small hammer, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, like the rubber mallet.
Object. Yeah, like something like that. But then I'm like, how does that help me determine what something is? Like I get a tuning fork or something. I hit it. I listen. I don't know.
Bing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's got a great crafting list.
It also has to be worth 50 gold pieces. So whatever it is.
Well, I believe most of these are like multiple items, so it's like a box of items. Yeah, so it'd be like a whole toolbox.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine as well.
The next item we have is another one of my favorites. I use this all the time, and it's Weaver's Tools. With a dex check of 10, you can mend a tear in clothing or sew a tiny design on clothing. If you have mending, Weaver's Tools is completely useless outside of its crafting list. With its crafting list, though, we are going to have padded armor, a basket, a bedroll, blanket, fine clothes, net, rope, robe, sack, string, tent, and traveler's clothes. I'm a fan of this crafting list, mainly because I love the ideology of crafting fine nobles' clothes and selling them. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I like the Weaver's Tools. Do you have any thoughts on those, or just it is what it is?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Like, my artificer will, like, he does have Weaver's Tools, but he also has mending. So it's just like he uses it just to make like fancy clothes, basically.
Our last tool that is listed under the artisan tools is Woodcarver's Tools. This is 1 gold. With a dex check, you can carve a pattern into wood with a DC 10. I don't know what their whole patterns and things is. I think that's we don't have anything for it, so just throw something in there.
Yeah.
But you are crafting club, great club, quarterstaff, and ranged weapons, except for the pistols, muskets, and slings. You can also make arcane focuses, arrows, bolts, druidic focuses, ink pens, and needles.
Yeah. So a little crossover with the carpenter's tools in terms of the class or the crafting list, a little bit.
Also, I feel like if you are wanting to be the group crafter, your archers are going to love you if your DM makes you count arrows. I feel like your calligraphers or cartographers are going to love you because you're making ink pens for them. And even people who might be wanting to play like a healer, but not like a magic healer, you start getting these needles to sew people up with the right medicine checks, they're going to love you too. I think this is a flavorful crafting toolkit. I like it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Our next couple ones, for whatever reason, they are not listed in the artisan tools. I mean, I can kind of see a couple of them, but some of them should definitely have been in there. The first one is the disguise kit. So these are just our other tools. This is 25 gold, and with a charisma check, you can apply makeup with a DC 10.
I'm sure that falls under performance or something like that. Like, that's probably what I would, if I used a skill, I would say performance. Sure.
I feel like, you can craft a costume. So I guess with the right costume makeup, you're good to go. But I'm not a huge fan of the way that they have worded it in the 2024.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it for me. However, the forgery kit, which is next, 15 gold, with a dexterity check, you can mimic 10 or fewer words from someone else's handwriting with a DC 15, or duplicate a wax seal with a DC 20. I like this a lot.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more flexibility than like the disguise kit, I would say. Like, in terms of, it would probably be, like, those two would probably be somewhat used together, right? Like infiltrating and putting in a fake note somewhere or something like that. But definitely a very useful tool for sure.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan. After that, we have the gaming sets. There's so many different kinds of gaming sets, but you can use your wisdom to discern rather if someone is cheating or not, or win the game. So to see if someone's cheating, it's just a DC 10, but to win the game, it's a DC 20.
See, that would make that contested.
Yeah, I'm...
Like,
well, I feel like, so
DC
I think
20, I win.
The thing for that is that if you're doing a game, it would already be contested.
Well, I would just say, like, in terms of rolling, like, they're making a roll and they just get a DC 20, but, like, the other person also gets over a 20, you know what I mean? Like, I would just say whoever gets the highest roll.
Yeah. 100%. So the prices on those vary. A dice is 1 silver, dragon chest is 1 gold, playing cards are 5 silver, and 3 dragon ante set is 1 gold. These are not the most useful, but if you're in a bar or a tavern and you're trying to get information, playing cards with someone is a great way to deceive them into giving information because they're focusing on something else. I like it. I don't think it's the best, but it's not the worst. After that,
Fun flavor. Fun flavor.
yeah, it's great flavor for sure. Next up, we have Herbalist Kit, which is 5 gold. You can use your intelligence on this to identify a plant with a DC 10. I'm into it. You can also craft antitoxins, candles, healer's kits, and you can brew potions of healing. Now, the potions of healing have a different rule set than every other item in the game. Because with that, you have to be proficient with healer's kit, and doing so requires you using the kit and 25 gold of raw material over the course of a day. Actually, I think that is the same as everything else. They just felt the need to write it out.
Yeah, well, it's 8 hours for the one.
Oh, it's 3.
Potion.
It's 3 more hours than it should have been.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why they did that.
So it could take you 3 days as an elf to make one potion. Well, it's how many hours?
4.
8 hours of work.
Yeah.
It's 8 hours of work. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so still 2 days for one potion.
Yeah. That's not bad, but I just wonder why they changed the rule for that specifically only.
Yeah, I don't know why herbalism kit's not like an artisan tool.
Yeah, that's the one that I was like, I don't really get why it's not artisan.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Wizards does some janky shit sometimes, and we just gotta go with it.
Yep. That's right.
After that, we have musical instruments. These are charisma-based. With your charisma, you can play a tune that you know for 10. You can improvise a song for 15. It just feels like it should just be a performance check.
Yeah. That's how I usually do it. And if it's a good roll, well, you played a good song, people are happy.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess it's if you don't have performance proficiency, this is like its own thing, but it is what it is. Yeah. Again, I feel like it should just be like, because you are using your instrument for the performance check, it gives you the proficiency, not having its own DC. Because obviously a DC 10, you're going to do good. Or like average. Yeah. Like you completed the task almost always.
Yeah, if you're a bard type character, like you're probably already going to have high charisma. You probably take expertise in performance or something like that if you're very musically inclined as a bard. So like you're probably always going to, for the most part, roll at least a 10 for your known tunes. So unless you're rolling nat ones, like you're probably, that's the only time.
Yeah. After that, we have Navigator's Tools. These are 25 gold, and with a Wisdom check, you can plot a course with a DC 10, or determine your position by stargazing with a DC 15. I like this one. I think this is fun.
Yeah, it could definitely have utility. I would probably say it does have, like, you do need a lot of prior information to kind of make this work.
Yes.
Like, if someone's just like, you're going to a city towards the west, you can use this to kind of keep going in the direction of west. If you are, get lost in a forest, get turned around in a forest, you're like, okay, my navigator's tools, I look at the stars, I pull up my sextant, and I look, and there it is. Oh, I go that way. But I think it just comes with a little bit of knowledge of where you are going to.
I agree.
Kind of hard to just do that by stargazing at the ocean. It's like, we're keep going west.
Yeah. After that, we come to Poisoner's Kit, which is 50 gold. It's an intelligence check to detect a poisoned object. So if you don't have cooks or brewers, this can be a way to do that. You can also craft basic poisons. My only issue with this is that it's only basic poisons. And basic poisons are not useful after, like, level 3.
Yeah, and, like, this is another one that I would say, like, I would tack it into alchemist tools.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a similar thing. And let me see, hold on a second. That's what it. Yeah, it's the same price as alchemist supplies. So I would just kind of tack it into that. The whole what it can do, identify poisons, all that kind of stuff. I could see you doing that with alchemist supplies.
Yeah, it's just like it's a more specific alchemy. Like that's all potion and brewing and poisons are. I mean, obviously, I like it because I think it's good, but I wish it was good after, like, the 5th level.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different kinds of poisons out there. Like just people that have played Baldur's Gate 3, they have like the basic, they have like the drow poison, the purple worm poison, and all the ones in between.
Yeah, I feel
So
like after you detect a poison, you should be able to make another roll to like maybe figure out the ingredients and then be able to craft it yourself.
yeah, and once again, if you're playing with like a real stickler for a DM, and it's like, well, you have to have that particular monster's venom to make a that type of poison. You could run into those kind of hiccups and stuff like that. But even like the poisoner's kit, I think I feel like you should also be able to make antitoxins with it too.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I don't know why that's not in there.
I agree. Our last tool is going to be Thieves' Tools. These are 25 gold, and you can make a dexterity check to pick a lock with a DC 15 or disarm a trap with a DC 15. This, again, falls under the I hate the flat check amount. Because
Yeah.
if you're trying to break into, like, a commoner's house, it's not going to be the same lock that, like, the king's bedroom is going to have on it.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is probably the most popular of tools, right? Because every rogue that you'll ever meet has them.
They start with
Heck,
it, yeah.
Killian has them. Killian's got them too. I'll take, So they're just, it's very common, Someone's got to have them. Somebody's got to have
someone
them.
has to have them. Did you realize that moving into 2024 that there's a whole category of tools that aren't here?
Really?
Yeah, there are no vehicle proficiencies anymore.
Oh, they just got rid of
gone. Everyone can drive a carriage. Everyone can do all that.
I mean,
which I like, but at the same time, I think it was kind of cool when you're trying to get a carriage taken off, and that one player's like, "Oh shit, I'm useful finally."
I feel like the sailing stuff like that probably should have stayed, because I think they had ships, water vehicles.
Yeah,
I recall.
They had land vehicle, water vehicle, and air vehicle.
I do feel like water vehicles probably should have stayed there, but maybe it's just because it's super, niche. It's unless you're just a whole sailing campaign, which at that point it's like, why is your character in a sailing campaign if they're not really good at sailing? But that could be their folly, I suppose. But
yeah. Yeah, I thought it was weird that they took them out, but I kind of get it because no one took them, unless they were just handed
some
it
races.
To them.
Yeah,
well, I mean, fighters got
it, right?
Yeah, fighters got a vehicle, and I think the soldier background got a vehicle, but that's the only way you just got them.
Yeah, so extra fluff they didn't need.
Bye. So overall, that's all of our tools and how to craft with them. Again, some of them I really, really like. Some of them I really don't understand what the purpose of them is.
Yeah. Some are redundant, Poisoner's Kit, Alchemist Kit. But at the end of the day, you're the Dungeon Master. You can run it however you want.
That is the truth. Now, before we wrap up, I do want to let everyone know that starting next week, we are going to be getting into classes. So with that, I am going to be posting a full schedule so you know when each class is going to come out. The way I'm going to do it is breaking them into marshals, half-casters, and full-casters. And we're going to do one from each list and then keep going until we've got all of them. The reason for that is some people hate playing marshals, some people hate playing casters, and I don't want to just go down the list because then we're going to have a week where there's 3 in a row where it's just casters, and I don't think anyone's going to have fun with that. So be on the lookout there. I think that's the only update I have. So until next time, I guess, may all your intelligence checks be high. Bye.